Yes, students, good morning and welcome to our class for cost center accounting. Actually, we are looking at a case study, which is how can we create a cost center within our global bikes company. Now, this case study basically it shows an integrated cost center accounting process in a detail, right? That you will see how you can create a cost center, right? How you can get an understanding of each step involved in creating cost center and what are the different SAP functionalities involved in this cost center accounting process. So this is an important concept, especially for managerial accounting. Basically, is in cost center accounting, what we are doing is we are allocating whatever cost incurred to in a company. Here in this case is a global bikes, and we assign those costs to different department as well. So I'll share a case scenario which we are going to discuss in this case as I'll, so this is the case scenario which we will be discussing. This is just a summary of what we have done. As you can see on this slide, especially if you look at a cost center accounting in our global bikes, right, we will see that there is a cafeteria cost, right? Right, this is our case which we are looking at it. We have an understanding of cafeteria, right? That yes, this cafeterias, right? They provide services to different departments, right? In real life, the same scenario, cafeteria or canteen or catering services, right? They provide, food and this one to all the departments. In this case, they will be providing, they're providing a support to maintenance employees, right? They're also using cafeteria. Employees in the assembly department, they're also using this one, okay? So this is the cost which we will be assigning. And also, if you look at same thing for maintenance cost, right? So there are two scenarios in this case. One is the cost of cafeteria. This one here, I'll just show you. Cost of cafeteria will be allocated to all the three departments, as you can see here on this slide, right? To cafeteria, to maintenance, and assembly employee. This is what we will be doing. Okay, so this is what we'll be doing. So cost of cafeteria will be assigned to these three departments. Cafeteria employees, of course, they are using cafeteria services as well, right? So cafeteria's cost, which is in this case is 150,000, which includes 60,000 and 90,000, right? One is for purchase services, purchasing, inventory or supplies to be used in cafeteria, and then the salaries of those employees. So there are two costs, right? So this one will be 60 plus 90,000, as you can see here in this slide. This is the total cost in cafeteria department. This cost will be allocated to all the three departments, right? Because cost of cafeteria used by employees of cafeteria, used by maintenance, and used by the assembly department. Three departments use cafeteria, so total cost of 150,000 should be allocated to these three departments. Same thing for a maintenance department. Remember, maintenance department, they have a cost of 60,000, right? And then, but they provide services to assembly department, if the machine is not working, so they go and fix it. So cost of maintenance will be allocated to the assembly department, right? So, and this cost, how it will be allocated based on the number of employees. Same thing, cafeteria cost is also based on number of employees. Similarly, cost of assembly is allocated, or they have to bear their own cost, assembly department. So it will not be allocated to other departments, because assembly don't provide support to maintenance, right? So their cost will, so assembly will have three types of costs, right? You can see their own cost, cost of maintenance, and a cafeteria cost, portion of a cafeteria cost, which will be charged to the assembly department. So this is what is our case scenario, which we are going to see now. So it's very important that you need to understand this concept very carefully before you start implementing this concept in SAP. So first, cafeteria cost, which will be shared by three departments: cafeteria, maintenance, and assembly, based on the number of employees. Okay. Then the maintenance cost will be shared by assembly department based on the number of employees. Then the assembly cost, it does not have to be shared, it is their own cost. So this is our case scenario, and then this is what we are going to implement it in SAP. So for this one, you have the handouts for our uh, case study. This is what we'll be using. These are the steps which you will see on the handouts provided to you. So cost center accounting, this is what you have. So I hope you have an understanding of what we are going to do now in this case study. This case study, you don't need to have any earlier knowledge. What you need to have is a basic understanding of SAP navigation, right? So it's just recommended to have some practice before, right? So we will be using the Global Bike as our model company in this case, which is provided to us by SAP through University Alliance program, which we are using here in Jubail University College and Jubail Industrial College. So what is the process overview? This is what we'll be doing in this case. So these are the steps basically in order to complete. So what we will do is, first of all, you have to assess and allocate all those costs which are with the cafeteria cost centers, right? How we are going to create this cost center, and how are we going to allocate those costs to other departments. So what we need to do is, you have to create, this is what we call it, cost elements and activity type. This is what you need to be created. Okay. Then you will plan those activity outputs. What are the primary cost inputs, and what are the internal activity inputs? Means how many number of employees they have, or how many machine hours are there, right? So this is what we are going to do. So remember, in managerial accounting, this case is not is related to managerial accounting, not to financial accounting. Managerial accounting is to internally manage and control the costs. Based on this one, you can create a budget. Based on this one, you can compare actual with the budgeted one, because you are doing the planning. So this case study is about cost center planning. And when you capture the actual information, you can compare with what was your plan. And then you can see whether you have a variance, budget variance. If you remember, we have in managerial accounting, you see the actual result and you compare with the budgeted results. What are the variance? What was our budget? What are the actual thing happen? This is what you are implementing it in a real company environment. Right, so this is a global bike corporation which you are implementing now. Imagine you are an employee of a global bike, and you will be performing all these tasks within SAP. So this is what you will be doing. Okay. So after this one, Then after you have completed your assessment exercises, then you can create and see whether your assessment cycle works correctly or not, and then you can calculate prices for your activity type. So what are the steps here in this case study? The first step is creating a cost center. Okay, then you will create a statistical key figure, which is the number of employee, because we will be assigning the cost based on the number of employees. What are the different secondary cost elements? So you should have an understanding of what is a primary cost element and what is a secondary cost element. This is an important information, right? So you need to have this understanding of primary and secondary cost elements. I'll just show you in one slide what is the difference between primary and secondary cost elements. This is just one example so that you can have an understanding of primary and secondary cost elements. Now, as you can see here in this slide, right, that in financial accounting, you have general ledger accounts. For example, what do I mean by this one? Now, in financial accounting, let's say when you make an entry for labor expense, right? Let's say you have in financial accounting, that's how we learned that we have labor expense is debit. Let's say you have and then let's say it is salaries payable is credit. This is how we learn in financial accounting, right? This is basically financial, whatever the amount is, labor expense or labor cost, debit, salaries payable. Let's say we did not pay it. This is basically our general ledger accounts, right? Labor expense will go to, when you prepare your accounts, it will go to income statement account, and salaries payable is a balance sheet account. This is what you have. This is what we have learned in our accounting courses. So that is the general entry or financial accounting. Okay, but in financial accounting, right, in this expense, where it belongs, this labor expense is belongs to which department, right? Because you have so many different departments, right? Is it belongs to department 1, department 2? Within one department, you may have other subsections as well. Okay, so that is the reason that you have to create a cost element. That's what it says here. If you look at his slides here, in managerial accounting, you will create, okay, what is the cost elements for this cost, labor cost. Now let's say we have a cost of a cafeteria, which will be assigned to cafeteria, maintenance, and assembly, these three departments. So these are the primary cost elements. They will take these costs, right? So, but for cafeteria, then what are the other costs based on employees, based on number of hours, or based on assembly costs? So this is, then you have another secondary cost elements as well. So this is what we'll be learning also, doing and implementing these concepts in managerial accounting into an actual environment. Okay. So just review it, try to get an understanding. So we will move back to our original case. As I said, it's very important that you need to have this understanding, which is very important, that what you are doing, what is the purpose of these exercises. So once you have your secondary cost element created, you can create your activity type, which is number of employees, or you know, whatever you want to do, right? Is it a number of employees, machine hours? So your activity type is also important, right? So what will be your activity types? Okay, and how you are going to send these costs? Again, you may look at some certain examples. I'll just show you a scenario. As you can see in this slide here, just some more detail about our primary cost elements. For example, in, let's say this is a one entry right here, which is, I'll just put it, let's say you have a entry like this one, supplies. This is one example, supplies expense debit for 1,500, and let's say we purchase it by paying cash. Supplies are consumables, right? So 1,500. So this is what we have. Now this cost of 1,500, right? As you can see how it belongs. This is financial accounting, but in managerial accounting, you have to define, okay, you are purchasing this supplies for which department? What is the cost center? Supplies are like consumables, like pens, pencils, daily use things which you consume it in a short period of time, like ink for toner, or in case of a cafeteria, maybe you have disposable plates, glasses, right? So whatever it is, those supplies, small things, you purchase, but there is a cost. So, but that cost has to be assigned to some departments, right? That one you call it a cost center. Okay, this 1,500 belongs to which department? We'll say, okay, it belongs to cost center, let's say business department. In academic setting, you have different majors. You have mechanical engineering, you have IT major. So it is like this one, right? So who is the initial cost element, right? So you have to create a cost center which will take that cost. Whatever the cost, it belongs to whom? It could be A, B, C, D, whatever it is, right? So this is our basic concept of cost centers. You will create a cost center in SAP environment as well. Same thing for, let's say, for labor expenses. Just another example, you have an employee, so who will take this cost? This cost belongs to which department? Because in real life, you have different departments, so you have to assign the cost to different departments, right? So as you can see here, what are the financial accounting transactions in SAP are this one, right? When you make a journal entry, it posted to the respective T accounts. It is financial accounting. But to which cost center it takes, you have to look at a managerial accounting. Okay, it belongs to cost element 200, whatever it is created in this example, right? Which is cost center. 1,500 is the cost, which will be taken by cost center A. Okay, then within this cost center A, you may have some other elements. Let's say out of it, within business department, let's say it some portion goes to department A. Cost element is one. Let's say MIS major. One goes to employee of supply chain management. So you may have a different secondary cost elements within a primary cost element. This is another example, right? Let's say you have a copy center, no, for center, and these are their costs. This is one example. There is a rent cost, 1500. There is a supplies expense, right? And there is an employee or labor expense. So there is a total cost. If you make a total, right? So 2, 4, 5, 6,000 is the total cost, right? Now total cost of a copy center is this one, and it is assigned based on primary cost element. What is the primary cost element for rent? It is a copy center. Photocopy, which provides this one, they have the three cost, and this is how the cost is assigned. Now out of that cost, there are three, just here in this scenario, there are three departments in this model company sample. There is an executive office. They also use the photocopy department. So they take out of the total cost, total six, remember the total cost combined is 6,000 if you make a total. So out of that one, 1,800 will go to executive office. How it will go? Maybe you can use based on the number of employees in each department, or based on the number of hours they used, whatever it is, right? Maintenance department, they take 3,000 out of the total amount. Based on what? Could be based on number of employees, number of hours, whatever it is. And then IT or information services department also they take. If you take a total, it will again become 6,000. So what you have done is we have taken a cost of 6,000, right? If you see like this cost, and assign it to these three departments. Okay, so this is what is the basic understanding of this case, that how to assign a cost. This is the process basically which we will be discussing in this case, a same kind of environment which we will be discussing in our managerial accounting case study, or we call it a controlling case study when you create a cost centers. Of course, we have different numbers for our case scenario, okay, but you have like this one, right? So we have a labor cost, right, and we'll assign to these different departments. How to do it? These things, whatever you see on your screen in SAP environment, this is what we will be discussing. So that's why it is very important that when you start a case, you need to have an understanding what you are doing. So it's very important before you start a case, just pause this recording or just go back and listen the recording again and try to get an understanding of all these processes. Then it would be easy for you to understand what you will be doing in this case study. So just take a time and get yourself familiar with the case scenario. As you can see in this case scenario, right? So you will create a cost center. I hope you have an understanding now. Statistical key figure which you have to create, number of employees, what are your secondary cost elements for this case scenario, what are the different activity types, assembly hours, machine hours, number of employees, like this one. Creating a group for cost center, because remember uh, cafeteria cost will be absorbed by all three departments. So we can create a group and assign the cost to that group. What will be the number of employees? You can plan it. What will be their activity output? What will be their cost inputs? And then you will plan the internal inputs, and you will review your planning. You will see the result of your plan, right? Is it correct or not? Then you can create your assessment and see your assessment result. And then also you can calculate the price of activity type for each of the cost center, and then you can see your calculation results. So you can compare what was your actual cost, what was your planned cost, and you can make a budgetary analysis like variance analysis. Is it over the budget, right? Or is it under budget, right? So is it overspending or is it underspending, right? These are the concepts you have learned in your managerial accounting course in the budgeting uh, or in the responsibility centers budgets. That is an important concept in managerial accounting. So starting a case, so we'll be starting with step number 1 is to create a cost center. That is the step number 1, how we are going to create a cost center. So you should have these handouts with you before you start a case. So if you don't have it, open it now. Make sure these cost centers are available and you can check these cost centers. So now we are in our SAP screen and we can now start our all these processes. The first step is to create a cost center. How can we create a cost center? You can follow a menu path or you can go for a transaction, whatever is feasible. Using a menu path, you can go and run this transaction. In my case, it is KS01, or I can follow a menu path. So I'll show both for first one. So it is accounting, controlling, and cost center accounting. Master data, individual. After master data, we have cost center and individual processing. Cost center, okay. Yes, this one, individual processing. Then this one, KS01. As I said, either you go this one, because later on, if you make a mistake, for example, you can come to change 02, and if you want to display or you want to delete a cost center, you have to come to these transactions. Okay, so I'll start with KS01. So I'll write. Now starting with the controlling area, okay, because our global bike company has a branch in Germany and branch in North America. This one belongs to North America, right? So we want to see all the results related to North America in this screen. Okay, now you are on the new screen. Now what is the cost center? So we'll create a cost center. So this is what you will find in your handouts, right? Which is the cost center you want to create. So we are creating a cafeteria cost. Remember, there is a cost center which is a cafeteria cost center. So I can use 1 and then my 3 unique numbers. You will have your own numbers provided to you by your instructors based on your login ID. So I will use for this time being here 999 just to identify, right? These again, these are just cost centers which we are creating. Okay. Now these cost centers are valid from, this is for current year, right? So valid from is 1st of January current year, which is this year is 2022. So I'll go to January 1, 1/1/22 and up to in future, whatever it is. In case you have earlier created a cost center, you want to copy it, you want to save your time, and if you have a cost center which you can copy, you can put it here, a template cost center which you can use to copy controlling area, then everything will be done automatically. The data will be copied. So anyhow, in this case, we are just creating from scratch. So enter, and you'll go to new screen, right? We are creating, remember, a cafeteria cost center. So that is the first step. Cafeteria cost center has been created, right? So what will be the name of this cafeteria? Cafeteria in building XYZ, cafeteria in whatever it is. So I will call it cafeteria, right? Let's say cafeteria 999. Let's say money 441. This is our current semester here. The terminology we are using, I'm just using it here, that it is for 441. Okay, so who is the person responsible for this cafeteria? I'll just put person responsible. I'll write my name. Then cost center category, service cost center. This is what you have to cost center, this one. So I'll use it, cost center category, which is this one, service cost center, because cafeteria is a service cost center. It provides services to other departments. Like you have a management department, you have production department, you have marketing department, you have a sales department. Here it's a cafeteria. They provide services to other departments. So we will take it this one, right? That our cost center category is a service cost center. Cafeteria providing services to other. So that's why we are using H. Now next one is hierarchy area. It belongs to whom, right? So what will be our hierarchy area? So this one will be operations, because our operations are assembly and maintenance, right? So it being this cost center, it is providing services to operations like assembly department and maintenance department. Remember, in the case scenario which we are discussing here is this one. So that's why we are using operations. Now what is the business area, right? Which is in our case, this company has bikes. If you have different business areas, right, different products, different departments, this one they're providing services to the bikes department. Then our currency here is, which we'll be using, of course, US dollars. So you can see USD is dollars, US dollars is, yes, USD. So make sure your entries should be like what you see on my screen. Person responsible, cost center category, hierarchy area, business area, and currency. It should be like this one. and that's it. If it is correct, then you can save and you'll get a message. Save. It says profit center this accounting, but no profit center. Yes, we are not entering. Do you want to enter anything for a profit center? You'll say okay, it's just a warning message. Just press enter if you see this one. Remember, our cafeteria center is CAFE 1999. See, cost center has been created. So make sure to save this information so that you remember. So your name of the cost center which you created. So this is the cafeteria which I have created, CAFE 1999. I just copy it in my separate document so that I can remember my work. So if you have handouts, so you have created a cost center, right, for cafeteria. Now you can do the same thing to create a cost center for maintenance department because they will also taking costs. So maintenance and for assembly, this is what you will be doing. How can you create a cost center for maintenance and assembly? You follow the same steps, right? Is you have to be on KS01, same screen here. So you just here just replace it with this one. If you are in the same screen, you did not exit. So just say maintenance 1999, and then I'm just creating another one, another cost center. Maintenance 1 MAN 1 MAIN 1, and then my sorry 3 digits 1999. So I'm just replacing these three numbers based on my ID. Enter, and you'll enter the same information here. What is the name of this cost center, which is maintenance 999. Let's say here 0441. So person responsible, you can same thing. Cost center category is H, it is correct. Hierarchy area should be that this one. Hierarchy area for this one will be this one, plant maintenance, because this is a maintenance department, so they are plant maintenance. Okay, so that's how you'll say that they are providing services for the plant which manufactures bicycles. Okay, of course currency is US dollar. You have to select it, this is always, and avoid typing when you have list of data. So make sure now your enter this information, business area, which is bicycles, currency. So make sure you have this data, person responsible, cost center category, hierarchy area, business area, and currency. So our maintenance cost center will be created, and then you can press save. Same message, the profit center is active but no profit center specified. Yes is okay. Just say enter. So this one is done. So the department is created. Cost center new. I'll just so maintenance is done. Now stay on the same screen, and now we will create a new cost center for assembly department. So instead of assembly 1, instead let's replace it with 999. Everything is same. Now I'm creating third cost center. So enter, and you can enter now the remaining method. So it is, what is the name? Should be so person responsible. Cost center category is not H. You have to change it. Make sure it is production department, right? Assembly is the one who produce, right? So their production department. Hierarchy area in this case will be for to this one, production. Currency is US dollars. I can take it from here. Business area is bicycles. So make sure you have similar data like what I have. Very important. Person responsible, cost center, hierarchy area, business area, and this one. Now if you want to see what is hierarchy area, you can say F1. It will tell you what do we mean by this hierarchy area. That in order to create a cost center, you need a structure in master data maintenance, right? Because to which you will assign the cost center, right? So when you create this cost or a controlling structure, standard, in the standard hierarchy is created, right? When you have a controlling area, that this cost belongs to whom? At the end, remember in controlling, you have to know what is the cost of bicycle department or a bicycle division. You have to assign, because you have to capture the costs in financial accounting, and then you have to assign it to some controlling area, some specific area. At the end, you want to evaluate their performance. What is the total cost of bicycle division, for example? In this case, the bicycle division manufacture bicycle and sell them, so you can see what are their costs. One of the cost in bicycle department is the cost of the cafeteria. Okay. So this is what we are doing in this case study. Anyhow, we'll save it. Again, you get a message. So just say OK, enter. So now we have created 3 cost centers. Cafeteria, maintenance, and assembly. I'll just share this one. This one, as you can see in the screen, this is what I have done so far. Actually, it's just a little bit slow. Yes. So I have created 3 cost centers: cafeteria, maintenance, and assembly. These are the 3 cost centers which I have created in my global bikes. So just follow the same thing. If you didn't do it, write it down into a separate document so that you remember what are the cost centers you created. So going back to our handouts and the steps, this is what we have done. So basically we completed in our handout step number 1. Okay. Now next step is you have to create a statistical key figure. Step number 2. I'll share in the handouts. This is what we are going to do. We are going to look at it now for our cost center groups. So what will be the statistical key figure, right? As we know that cafeteria costs, right, are basically assigned or assessed to 3 cost centers. So their costs will be given to 3 departments, okay, based on number of employees. That is the allocation base. How we assign the cost of cafeteria is based on some allocation base. We know that cost of canteen is 150,000. Okay, I have already discussed with you. Now how we are going to allocate this cost, right? So you need statistical key figure. That's what is we are going to look at it now. Again, I will just show you what I have discussed with you before as well. I'll share the same thing so that our discussion stays relevant to what we are doing. Now, as you can see here in this slide, it is yes, you can see here that the first one here, that the cafeteria cost is this one, 150,000. This cost should be assigned to 3 departments. Here, I'm just highlighting it as a reference. Okay, so cafeteria cost, it is based on the number of employee, based on number of employees. But we have to do it, or we have to implement it, the same scenario in SAP now. This is what we are doing in this step now. So we have to create a statistical key figure. This is our next step, which we are going to do now, right? What will be the number of employees is our statistical key figure. Okay, so we are going to define it in our controlling area. How to do it? This is what we'll do it, and we can follow the instructions in our handouts in step number 2. So you may open step number 2 in your handouts and see how you can assign it in SAP. Make sure you are in home screen of your SAP screen, right? So this is our home screen for global bikes. So now what we will do is we will go and follow this one to create a statistical key figure. How can we do it? How can we create a statistical key figure? As we said, you either follow a menu path or there is a transaction code. So I'll move with the transaction code. Just closing what I've done before. So I'll go from KK01. So our statistical key is the number of employee. What is this one? I'll say, okay, this is what I'll be using. My key figure will be employee triple nine. I'm using 999 as reference ID. You can have your own 3 numbers. Okay, so you enter, go to next screen. What is the basic information, right? Number of employee is what we are going to define now, that this key figure, number of employees. And then how we are going to unit of measurement. Is it hours, kilograms, what? Number of employees is, see here you have so many different measurement bases, right? So this one, we know that it is number of persons, right, as the unit. So number of persons, if I can find somewhere here. So you have to search it. Just scroll down, number of P is number of persons. See here, number of persons. PRS is the number of persons. So, and then make sure that our category fixed value is that this will be a fixed value, remember, right, which we are entering. And then this one will be created. So our statistical key, if I press save, will be created. So our statistical key is created. This is our statistical key. That number of employees. This is what we have. So step number 1 and 2 are completed. So what we have done in step number 1 and step number 2, I'll just show you before I stop my recording. So this is what we have done so far. We have created a cost centers, these 3 cost centers: cafeteria, maintenance, assembly, and also a statistical key, which is the number of employees to be used as allocation base for these 3 cost elements. Okay, so step number 1 and step number 2 has been done. So I'm stopping my recording here.